Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the Back of His Teardown Lab. A while ago I received this box of stuff from the Retro Future, and go check out Elliot's channel if you haven't. He really does the Game Boy stuff right. And among it was this pretty cool thing. I was playing this recently actually, a bit of a Duck Hunter and Hogan's Alley. We might cover that properly at some point. That's not what we want to talk about today, because I want to talk about the rest of the stuff in this box. The other stuff primarily consists of Game Boys, and broken Game Boys at that. This Game Boy was a bit broken, and I made it more broken by trying to fix the screen, so that's a bit of a shame. This Game Boy, oh by the way, and this was a gold one that Elliot painted himself, so I guess I'm honoured to have that, so that's nice, we'll put that there. This one is another Game Boy of unknown condition, so I don't know if that's working or not. That's the main board there, that's the main guts of the CPU. The screen part is a separate board. And sometimes if you can get them working enough that you can hear the bling, the coins, then that means it's going to work, which is good. So we'll see if we can test that. And then this one, which has got nothing inside, so that's really just a shell. So my idea was to get these going, or trying to get something working out of any of these. Got some batteries, but Houston, we already have a problem because there aren't any battery terminals on here. These are missing the lugs, and I can see on this side it's also missing the lugs because they'd normally live here. This involves level 2 testing. I'm quite worried really. I did notice that once I started trying to assemble this, I have a distinct lack of parts here. So I've put the power on, I've put the screen on, but then there was no speaker, so I had to attach a speaker to that I had lying around. I'm hoping it's going to do something. We're going to just try applying power and see what happens. The red light is going on. Oh, and I hear a ding, but I'm not hearing any music. I kind of think if it was Tetris, you'd start hearing the Tetris music, so I'm a little bit worried. Let's see if I can spray some contact cleaner here. And this belonged to DM from the look of it. Ah! Is there a way of getting there? Oh, hello. Let's take that out of the way. We can get in there properly. So this contact cleaner cleans off any oxides and things like that off the connector, and I'm going to give that a good old squeeze. So that's a Game Boy in essence. Come on now, I just want to hear the game. If we hear the game, we know the unit's working. Yes, listen. Superb. Yes, so this one's working fine. You can hear the Tetris, so maybe we can play it. There we go. Brilliant. That's enough for me to know that works. Let's move on to the next unit. Second unit works as well. That's fantastic. We actually have two to play with. Pretty clear though, from a project standpoint, I don't have what it takes in terms of parts to finish this. I've got two shells. Admittedly, this one's quite nice with a nice clear screen, but that's really not going to get me anywhere because we don't have the D-pad, we don't have the rubbers, and we don't have any of the switches, not to mention, of course, the missing battery contacts. So I think it's time for me to go to eBay. As quick as a flash, eBay is already here. And we have some toys. We have 3 lots of toys from the eBay, and what I'm going to do is put these shells away because I don't think we're going to want these anymore. Not right now, at least. We should have enough parts here to actually get a working Game Boy if we can find enough screws. There were a lot of missing screws, so I'm going to go through the bits we have. The first bit is this, and it did actually come with a nice shell, which is cool because you can see there's a USB-C port, because this is the Clean Juice system, and apparently with the Clean Juice system you can replace your batteries in a standard Game Boy, and you can see you do that potentially by modifying it. I feel you might have to remove those ribs to let the battery in. Maybe not, maybe. Anyway, and then this will give you a lithium polymer battery charging capability. So that should get around our issue with the battery. And I know that we don't have the battery tabs in ours, but what I can do is I can solder some wires onto our PCB and then have them coming out the top. So then when we put the battery clip in, we can actually just tack them on there and we'll still be able to get power. And then if we ever want to change the unit, move it somewhere else, we can just modify that. So that will be a good thing. And I have to admit, I didn't know it came with another shell. So that's like a bonus as well. And that's fantastic, isn't it? So what I did order though, in lieu of a shell, because I figured we wouldn't have a shell, we needed to get all of the parts, is a new shell. So we have a replacement screen, which is all crisp, and hopefully with the shell we have fixings. Oh, we do appear to have some. So we have the button set there, and we do have a packet of screws, and hopefully they're all the screws we need. If not, I'm going to have to salvage some. And you can see this is a rather nifty pearlescent type case. And it says here, for Nintendo Gameboy TM. So you're lacking the original branding, but okay. We know that this is a... Should we call it a remake? It's a remake. A remade Game Boy. So we get rid of that. And let's look at the last bits. We have a crystal, or pearlescent rather, back cover, which has the cutaway, of course, because we want one compatible with our batteries. And let's have a look on the colour standpoint. Beautiful. They're finished in just how we want them. And the piece de resistance is this, and this is a brand new IPS screen. So a brand new modern screen. And it came with a speaker, yes, and it's a whole replacement board. Look, a bit of sticky on there. Get the sticky off. But that's a whole replacement board. So it's actually going to take a whole screen, and you're going to get the up, down, left, right, start, select, everything on there. And interestingly, which is really blowing my mind right now, look at the screen. That's the aspect of the screen. It's only using the first chunk of the screen in there. So we're going to have to start reassembling one of our Game Boy innards here into the new shell, and I might give it a quick wipe down as I do it, put some flux cleaner as we go along. So let's start assembling it back up. I decided to use this one because it had a cleaner port, even though the codes on there make it look like it's potentially an older one, but I can't imagine there was too many differences between the revisions. Frankly, if it's lasted this long, it's probably going to last a little bit longer. First things first though, let's put something to protect our new case, because we don't want to damage its finish before we even start. And take the back off like that. Let's take the back panel off. Oh, yeah, that's something else you might want to remove. You probably have to remove these battery doodads. Easy enough to lift out, fantastic. Put those aside. We might want those at some point in the future. Clearly that's the PCB and everything looks okay. If you're in any doubt at the moment, you could get in there and clean those. So if you have some contact cleaner, I'm going to spray this just off camera onto the switch here and onto the adjustment here, because you don't want to let contact cleaner get into contact with your new case, because I'm not sure on the finish here. If it's a painted finish, the contact cleaner could damage that. I'm going to flip that around. This is potentially a pretty quick fix then, really. If you've got one of these, good to go. Look, I mean, you're just slotting everything in where it was. The only thing for me now is to locate some extra screws like for here, which I didn't have. That's going to be a slight problem, but nothing too big a deal. First step is to put the screen in, and you can see I've done a test fitting. I've already actually fitted some of the buttons, but we'll just gently push that back out, because of course the screen does have a screen protector on it. Something I did note is that you do need to bend this up, so it's a good opportunity just to bend that flexi up. Not too much, just bend it so it's got a reasonably sharp angle. It should be fine. And then I'm going to remove this screen protector, because let's face it, this thing's going to get dirty during use, and we might as well remove it now. It would be curious to see if you turn it on if it does anything on the bottom part of the screen, but I presume it doesn't, so let's just fit that. Interestingly, this isn't actually a potentiometer, it's actually a switch, so if you go up and down you could be able to select options, and look, you can push that in. I've done a test fitting, everything seems fine. It's time to put the screen cover on the actual shell itself, because we're going to actually assemble it. And this thing feels really heavy. I think it's glass. This is actually made of glass. That's going to be beauteous. Very, very gently my tweezers, see if I can grab that edge, because we don't want to contaminate that with dust. Got it, got it, got it. But we certainly don't want it to stay on there either. That should be pretty good. I'm keeping it down like that so dust has less chance of getting on it. Let's apply that. Should be the perfect fit. It is a perfect fit. Brilliant. I can push that on with the aid of a lens cloth. I do have one of these mobile phone dust absorbers, as they call them, but it's just a bit of a sticker because I can see so much dust floating around in here. It's almost an infinite supply of dust, unfortunately. It's looking pretty good. I might just have to go with that. So I'm going to be very careful. I don't want to let any more dust in. Whew, it's on. Now it would be cool if you do have some thin rubber to make a little gasket across that. That would be really nice because there's no gasket on there. I'm hoping there's no dust between the two. There's certainly dust on the outer edge. Let's polish that off. That's looking pretty good. Hopefully it's okay. Let's keep going. There's not much we can do if there's a little bit more. Let's put the keys in. Pull the ribbon cable up. Let's get that in there. And if you push down, you'll feel it giving a slight bit of resistance, and that's good. That's the screen pushing back. So once we screw that all in, that'll be a very nice tight sandwich. So onwards with the screws. And they have many in this kit, so just work your way through. There's plenty to do on here. That's all the screws in. Great. Now just get this ribbon cable sorted. We're just going to bend it over, push it into the connector. It's going to slide in slightly. There you go. And then just push the door over. Slam that door. And that's in. Great. Come on, come on. That's it. It's in. Hurrah! I did put that little block of foam on that speaker just in case it would rattle around. It's not the speaker I'd like to keep in it, but let's try it. I'll just do a quick rattle test for putting the power switch. I think it's going to be okay, so let's put the power switch in. Not sure which way round these go. Oh, did I have to put this in beforehand? No, no. I think you can still lever that board up a bit. Yes. We're in luck. I do have that little bit of a nasty hack to do to mine just to get this to work. So let's position the battery in there. And the battery does have a bit of sticky on there. And look how fat that is. That's a big old cell. That is actually a monster. Should last a while. Have a look at the clean juice documentation to see how long that's supposed to last. And that goes in like so. That should be okay. So I'm going to need to cut these and solder them. So I'm going to cut them just ever so shy like that. I don't want to make a mistake here, because if I make a mistake I have to unscrew everything. And just before I put anything else back in, I'm going to take the soldering iron. You can see the ends there. I'm just going to tin them because we're quite near the edges of this case. We don't want to fumble anything when it comes time to reassemble. We want it just to go nice and smooth. No hot soldering irons touching nice brand new cases ideally. So we're going to fit the battery in. I'm going to have to make sure keep an eye on those because we want to keep those wires pointing up, out of the way. And it's probably possible to get hold of those battery contacts if you need them. I'm pretty sure you can get hold of them somewhere. If there are any suppliers, let me know down below, but they definitely must exist because I could only imagine that you'd get so many of these having battery corrosion issues where they've been left in the loft for a long time. Okay, that is looking good. I'm going to push those over like that. Just hold the iron there. That's one. And we'll do the other one now. Oh, oh, that made me jump. It powered on. Brilliant. Okay, let's get the back cover on. That's quite convincing indeed. Give the screen a wipe down, and we just got to decide, do we want to have Super Mario or Tetris? I think it has to be Tetris, doesn't it? Tetris is the only legitimate game to try in this circumstance. Ooh. Nice. That looks crisp. I have to admit, that looks crisp. I think the screen in mine is slightly twisted. Is it? Slightly kicked. It's not much, but I can definitely see it. Will it annoy me? Probably not enough to do anything about it. Volume, not too loud. It doesn't go massively loud. I don't know if it's the speaker size, but that's probably okay. If you're giving it to your kids, it'll stop them driving you absolutely balmy. Just checking this fit of this shell here. I might check something here because I'm just noticing when I'm adjusting the volume, there's a little lip there. That might be down to me though. That might be entirely down to me. But the screen looks great. You can see we've got loads of light in here and it's still very, very visible. If I push in the contrast button, I'm imagining, oh, it's changing colour. So depending on the colour of your Game Boy, you can definitely find the right colour for you. If I do up and down, oh yeah, there you go. That's definitely a brightness. And if I hold it in, what happens? Oh, the camera's struggling. I feel there's probably an extra mode on here. I'm going to play with it a little bit longer. But that looks absolutely great. Wow. Snow White. It's been a few hours now and I've been playing with this. I didn't find any other modes or anything like that or any other colour schemes. But it's absolutely fine. I'm loving it in this white, bright white colour scheme, and it just goes with the case. I'm just bedding in the buttons here. I think they feel a little bit light, so I don't know if you can get heavier rubbers for it, or if your original Game Boy rubbers might have been a bit firmer, or it's just the fact that these switches need a bit more of a going over, but I'll keep an eye on that. And I've decided not to go in and untilt the screen because one, it's just an opportunity to put dust in there, and two, I'm probably going to go in there again if I decide to mess with the speaker or mess with these controls if I really can't get on with them. Have you got one of these, and have you had any experience of these controls? It just feels the A button is a bit firmer than the B. The B's going in a lot easier than the A, but you know how it is with controllers. Sometimes you just need to use them a while. But everything else is absolutely superb. Come on, have another look at that screen. That is absolute gold. It's absolute gold. And the real bit that really throws you is when you're playing this, sometimes the games feel a little bit sluggish. You're thinking, is the game sluggish? But it's because it's a Game Boy game. You've never seen it that clear before. So the frame rate and things aren't necessarily as good as you remember, because where you've played recent handhelds, if you think about it, you've got Game Boy Advance, DS, and then all of the knockoff clones from Game Boys that you've played, which are much higher CPU often, and they've got better screen refresh rates. But this is absolutely great. I can't believe it. It's literally, how old is this going to be? It's, ooh. Are we talking 30 years? Easily, right? 30-year-old hardware? And it's just been brought up to date and running great. See how it compares to the last best mod you could do, which is the bivert. I'm going to switch them both on simultaneously. Let's turn the lights off. Look at that. It's really no comparison there. You can see you've got the little floodlight effect, although in reality that is better, but this is crystal. It's like night and day. You really can't compare it. I mean, okay, I can adjust this up a little bit better perhaps. But this was absolutely amazing to get this done, which was probably only about a year ago. But this, look at this. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Playing Zelda, it's like paper white. It's like looking at a Kindle. look, when you turn the lights on, I mean, even then it's still crisp. So the problem with all of this, of course, is I still end up with a dilemma. It's all very well and good. We've got this working, but look at it. We've got these 3 original cases still unused and a new case unused. I mean, potentially, okay, I can pop that back in, but I really need to see if I can get that screen module, of course, without all of the extra gubbins. Otherwise, I'm going to keep ending up with loads of spare parts. So if you know somebody or a supplier who can supply me what I need, that's just the extra screen components, say, just to finish this one off, let me know who I should go and have a look for. And be interesting to know if anybody out there knows any of the manufacturers, do they do one for the Game Gear? Because I think the Game Gear is the next in line for me to update. But have a look, one last look at that. Ooh, yeah. And if you want to see that it's definitely in colours, there it is. As ever, thank you for watching.